I'm Ashley Pickle. That's Greg Powers, and this is This Week
in Cruton.
It is This Week in Recruiting with our recruiting analyst, Greg Powers, as we take a look at some of the top prospects in the state of Texas. And this, of course, is brought to you by our good chicken friends, Chicken Express.
It's delicious fried chicken.
It's fried chicken. I like fried chicken.
Delicious fried chicken.
Brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. But we will waste no time here as we take a look at the first one, which will be our prospect on the rise. And let me make sure I have this all pulled up. I've got like 17 things going on over here. But our prospect on the rise is from the hatch, as our buddy Guy Frazier would say, Waxahachie 2023 wide receiver, Keith Abney the second. He landed his 15th offer from Kansas State this weekend, and I mean, he's got all sorts of stuff. Rice, Houston, SMU, Texas Tech, Boston College, Pittsburgh, Colorado State, Louisiana Tech. This guy is on just about every conference's map and is a guy to definitely keep your eye on in the class of 2023.
Yeah, he's to me one of those guys that sometimes goes overlooked in the state when you're talking about some of the top players. But one thing that I really love about Keith Abney is his grades. You know, you see an offer from Rice, and that really jumps out. He's over a 3.8 GPA. He's a guy who could academically go to many of the top programs in the country, and he's also a great football player to boot. I think he was the only two-way starter in 11-6A last year, so he brings it on both sides of the football. I think his upside's probably highest on the offensive side of the ball, where he put up the most stats. I think he collected over 550 yards last year and scored 8 touchdowns. But that's while he was also flipping over and playing on the other side of the football as well. So a lot of skill sets there with Keith Abney, and his offer list continues to rise. I think Kansas State would be, like, to me, he reminds me of that Tyler Lockett type. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was pretty good at Kansas State. So, I mean, very similar intangibles, very similar size, and Abney is also, you know, in that 11 flat range in the 100 meters, so he has plenty of good speed, knows how to get open. So this is a guy who could fit in well at Kansas State. But the Wildcats have their hands full. As you mentioned, his offer list is starting to get kind of hefty. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's going to be a battle down the stretch to see where he ultimately signs.
Well, in Kansas State, too, a lot of these highlights so far have been kickoff return and how he's just kind of elusive off of that. And that's something that Kansas State, I mean, man, anybody that can have that illusion with the speed on the kickoff return, that seems to be their calling card every single year.
We got stuck on Kansas State, I guess, because they offered him this week. It was his 15th offer. It's a Big 12 offer, but he has some other P5s, you know, Pittsburgh, mm-hmm. Boston College, Texas Tech. Texas Tech's recruiting class is getting kind of full now.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like there's been so many offers.
I don't know what the status of that is as far as him able to could he be able to commit there or not, but mm-hmm. SMU, Rice, some other good programs on that list. There's going to be a battle here, you mm-hmm. know, but I think Kansas State was perfect timing to get their hat in the mix, and I'm sure they'll try to get him on campus for an official visit.
And I'm sure he's got more coming, too. That's the other side of that with 2023. But we'll go ahead and move on to our commit of the week. We're going to the DFW here in Arlington. Sam Houston, 2023 quarterback, Lafayette. And
tight end. Sorry.
Tight end.
That's my bad if there's a typo in there.
All right. We got tight end, Lafayette, and we said Kaiway is what we're going with there. But he has committed to TCU over offers from Baylor, Texas, Texas A&M, Florida, Oklahoma State. So, I mean, he basically had every Big 12 school possible that he could have, and he's going to stay in the DFW and go straight up the road to the Horned Frogs and Coach Sonny Dykes there.
Yeah, it's the second week in a row that TCU's land the commitment of the week.
How about that?
You know, they're really rolling on the recruiting trail right now. Kaiway was a guy who was, you know, a pretty prominent recruit heading into the spring evaluation period, but during that time he picked up Oklahoma and Texas A&M. So, wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is a guy who was very highly sought after. What I love about his game is his ability to be a weapon in the red zone. He's a big dude, long arms. He's more of a receiver to me, even though he did a lot more inline tight end stuff as a junior compared to his sophomore year. Mm-hmm. His sophomore year, he was a guy who kind of got on the radar initially because he was, you know, a mismatch in the vertical passing game.
Right.
But he's not a guy who is a soft blocker. He's an aggressive blocker who's more in that flex tight end type of frame. You know, he is a big dude though. Mm-hmm. You know, but he's not afraid to block. Good hands, great catch radius, and a guy who can move the chains, but also give his quarterback a true weapon in that red zone around the goal line. I mean, he's very active there. As you can see, a lot of his highlight clips from the beginning of his highlight tape are in the red zone. So this is a huge pickup for TCU on the offensive side of the ball, a guy who can move the chains and be a go-to guy.
And Sonny Dykes will never complain about a person that is not scared to block. So that's a fantastic pickup there from the Horned Frogs. This is This Week in Recruiting with Next Level Athletes Greg Powers. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. Moving on now to our underclassmen of the week. We go to Richland, 2024 offensive lineman Daniel Cruz. He picked up a new offer from the big bad Ohio State, so you know that people start sweating when their name gets thrown into the mix. But Baylor was his first offer, and Texas A&M has also shown some early solid interest in him. So just because they're there doesn't mean that someone from Texas could not convince him to stick around in the Lone Star State.
Right, and things are just getting started for Daniel Cruz at Richland. You know, this is a guy who at 6'3", 6'4", 285, 290 pounds, is a technician, as I like to call him, in the trenches, but also very powerful and explosive. Gets off the line really well, can get to the second level and secure blocks on linebackers, plays with a little bit of a nasty streak. His list is also hit 15 offers already this week with the latest addition from Ohio State, but he's still got 2 full years of Texas high school football to play yet. So, I mean, this is a guy that everybody's really going to be on. You're starting to see the momentum swing in such a way on the national level. When Ohio State comes calling, that kind of forces some of the programs closer to home, the P5 programs closer to home. It forces their hand to extend him an offer as well, because now they're going to have to kind of get in the game with like a nationally prominent program, right? You know, this is a school that's probably going to catch his attention. I don't think he's had the opportunity to really visit Ohio State or really take a serious look at that program yet. But we'll see what plays out. You know, he's been a multiple campus visitor to Baylor. They were his first offer. I think that they're in a really good spot. He's starting to form a relationship with the coaches down there. Texas A&M, he's been to camp there. They've been showing him interest, and there's a long list of suitors for him. So this thing's just getting started, so to try to predict where he might end up would probably be foolish of me at this time. But what I can say is he's a guy who could probably play any of the interior O-line positions, and he's a true interior line. So you know what you're getting when you recruit him, and he passes the eyeball test. Ohio State extended that offer after seeing him in practice.
Oh, wow. So you know that.
Yeah, so they came down to Texas,
impressed.
saw him, was like, yeah, this is a guy we want to offer.
This is it. Well, he's a big guy, and we're excited to be able to watch him again for 2 more years. That's the best part of it for us, is we get to watch this whole thing develop. Moving on finally to our recruit of the week. It is a household name in the state of Texas at this point, as Temple 2023 athlete Mikel Harrison Pilot has collected 47. Emphasis on that, 47 scholarship offers, but he did name a top 5 in Houston, TCU, Texas, California, and Oklahoma. So that is a very long-awaited list there, and all of those teams should be feeling good. I'm incredibly impressed. Houston, that's a big thing to be named to a top 5 out of 47 scholarship offers.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, you look at his profile on 24/7 Sports, and I think there's a crystal ball pick by the Houston expert that he'll wind up there.
Wow.
And that's been a pick for a while. So Houston making the cut kind of reinforces the fact that Houston probably feels pretty good about this recruitment for one of the top guys.
That's a massive pickup.
Yeah, that would be a massive pickup for Dana Holgerson and the Cougars down in Houston. But I'm going to say that I feel pretty good about where Texas sits in this recruitment as well. He's already got an official visit scheduled with Texas.
Basically a hometown kid at that kind of stretch.
UT does great with players that they target from Temple. You know, this is a common thing. Historically, Temple's been a program that's been friendly to UT. And we'll see how it plays out, but Harrison Pilot is a guy who could have literally played for pretty much any school that he wanted to, and this is the top 5 that he's concentrated his efforts down to. He's got an official visit scheduled with UT on June 17th. He'll follow that up with a trip to California on June 24th. That'll be 2 of his NCAA allowed 5 official visits, so we'll see if he takes more of those before he reaches a decision. To me, when you release a top 5, that's an indicator that you have a pretty good idea of where you're going to go. That's
right.
That's how to roadmap these recruitments. Most of the time, some of the time, these guys will release a top 5 and say, now that I've narrowed it down to a top 5, I can concentrate and hone in on these schools. But
right.
you're in official visit season now. Right. So I have a good idea that he at least has taken enough visits and talked to these programs enough that he thinks in his mind that he probably has an idea of where he wants to go. And playing for a no-nonsense program like Temple, like this is a hardcore blue-collar, Texas high school football team. They're tough and mean.
Yep.
On the football field in Temple. And I know that they have their eyes on a state title every year.
Yep.
And they probably wouldn't be mad if, Harrison Pilot made his decision before the start of the season.
Yeah, that seems right. And I almost wonder, like you mentioned with the, naming a top 5 being a good, I tend to think that it's a good indication of where someone's going. I almost look at it as kind of like a bargaining technique almost of saying, okay, look, you're still, I'm not saying you're completely, I know where I want to go, but let's see if they throw any more whatever, and especially now in the world of NIL.
Be careful on the NIL. Be careful. I guess it's legal now.
Oh yeah,
it's all legal. It's all in the game.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see where he ends up. Ultimately committing to and signing whenever the signing period does come around. But I think Texas sits in a good spot, and three in-state programs made the cut, 2 out-of-state programs, and Oklahoma isn't an in-state program, but it's a program that many Texas-based recruits and families are very, very familiar with.
Oh yeah.
So the one out-of-state, long shot, I guess would say is California.
Right.
But he's already got an official visit scheduled there, so he's thought about going away from home. But looking at that list, he's going to stay somewhere close to home.
Right.
In my opinion. That's my opinion.
Right. Take it as you will. And also a great time to say, if you would like to watch Mikael Harrison Pilot all season long, Temple just signed with Dave Campbell's Texan Live. So perfect. Well fed. He's Greg Powers. He is our recruiting analyst from Next Level Athlete. You can follow him on Twitter at Greg G Powers Scout and follow Next Level Athlete at Next Level D1, and of course see all of his fine work at TexasFootball.com. Powers, stick around because I'm going to have you introduce the next segment here. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.